This podcast is made possible by you, the supporters of WPLN and WNXP, Nashville Public Radio. This is the Nashvillager Podcast. It's January 30th, 2025. On this day in 1956, a homemade bomb rocked the Alabama home of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. His wife and infant daughter and a neighbor were inside. They were unharmed. And when King rushed home, his response became part of his legacy. I'm Tony Gonzalez, and this is your daily digest of what's happening around Middle Tennessee from Nashville Public Radio, WPLN News. The attack on Dr. King has parallels to today. It's not hard to draw the connection to many tensions in the news. The bombing came 57 days into the Montgomery bus boycott that he was helping to organize. That protest against segregated seating famously followed after the defiance and arrest of Rosa Parks, and eventually would lead to a court order to integrate. It also drew out the worst in people. Dr. King was speaking at a church when the bomb went off. Photos show the front of the home with splintered wood and a hunk of bricks blown apart on the porch. He rushed home to find a crowd, an armed crowd, ready to take action on his behalf. Accounts from the day capture how he advocated for nonviolence and told people to take their weapons home. Like other civil rights attacks, there never was a prosecution. That moment brings to mind incidents that have been appearing in our newscasts. This summer, supremacists demonstrated multiple times in Nashville, on Lower Broadway, and even in the Metro Council chambers. Recently, a Tennessee man who authorities say was associated with a supremacist group was charged for attempting to use a disguise to enter the Gordon Jewish Community Center in Nashville. That case is still in the courts. Earlier this month, the long-running Tennessee Federation of Republican Women was found to have posted a recommended reading list for children that praised the intelligence of Adolf Hitler. That drew condemnation. And now this week, communities in Chattanooga and Knoxville woke to find some 2,000 Ku Klux Klan flyers in their streets. A self-identified Kentucky-based KKK leader told the Times Free Press newspaper that the group has been growing by recruiting members in the past decade. We are also in a community that is reeling from the fatal school shooting inside Antioch High School and the revelations that the teen assailant held and propelled extremist beliefs, including about race. In just a few minutes, we'll turn to our music journalists for something decidedly more upbeat. Jewly Hight is shining the light on a local songwriting camp for hip-hop artists that is designed to create a pathway for artists who are just getting their starts. That's coming up after the newscast.
Tennessee's legislature has passed a record-breaking number of anti-LGBTQ laws. I'm Miriam, and as WPLN's Power and Equity reporter, I focus not only on how marginalized communities contend with those new laws, but how they come together in spite of them.
I think what gives me hope is that someone like you is covering this. Because if the overwhelming narrative is one of defeat, how can we have hope?
Listen here on 90.3 WPLN News.
For WPLN News in Nashville, I'm Tony Gonzalez. Mount Juliet native and NASA astronaut Butch Wilmore is performing a spacewalk outside of the International Space Station today. Wilmore and his fellow astronaut Sonny Williams will collect samples from the outside of the station to see if they could hold microbial life. They're also planning to perform some routine maintenance. The spacewalk comes amid a call to speed up Wilmore and Williams' return to Earth. The pair of astronauts has had their stay in space extended for months because of technical issues with their Boeing space capsule. They're scheduled to come home in April aboard a SpaceX capsule that is already attached to the station. Elon Musk has now suggested that their return might come earlier than expected at the urging of President Trump, but offered few other details. Typically, NASA waits to return astronauts from the space station until their replacements arrive. That won't happen for Wilmore, Williams, and their fellow crew members until at least March. Parents across Tennessee could soon put public dollars toward the cost of attending private school. Tennessee lawmakers are expected to vote today on the governor's school voucher plan, which will allow students to put more than $7,000 in state funds toward the cost of private school. WPLN's Miriam reports that this version of the plan won't directly take from public school budgets, but they could still feel the effects.
Funding for the program will come from lottery revenue, which is also how the Hope Scholarship is funded. There are some concerns that lottery revenue will be down this year, and there won't be enough money for everything. For K-12 education, though, the fear is that when enrollment goes down, funding goes down. Republican Representative William Lamberth says there's money in the budget to keep public schools from feeling the impact.
No public school loses even 1 red cent due to this bill. And in fact, if a child leaves due to disenrollment for any reason, the amount that they receive, if it were to reduce their TISA funding, would be the same.
But a state fiscal review found that the money set aside to help public schools only covers 7% of the expected losses from the program.
And we're asking taxpayers to fund 2 school systems.
That's Democratic Representative Gloria Johnson.
But we're 45th in the nation in spending in public education.
The review found that 2/3 of the families expected to receive that money are already enrolled in private schools. Mariana Baca-Yao, WPLN News.
White supremacist Ku Klux Klan flyers have been distributed in and around Chattanooga and Knoxville, and a self-identified leader of the group claimed responsibility for handing out some 2,000 copies. The Times Free Press reports the flyers were also found in Cleveland and Athens and in other areas around Knoxville. The intention is to recruit new members for what the group says has been a growing chapter. The handouts also directly encourage immigrants to leave the country. Police have been made aware, and the Chattanooga chief condemned what he called divisive and intimidating messages. The flyers come after white supremacists demonstrated in Nashville over the summer, and criticism this month of the Tennessee Federation of Republican Women, who shared a post praising Adolf Hitler. Wetlands cover just 3% of Tennessee land, but they intertwine with all ecosystems in the state and impact us all. One way is through drinking water. Most residents get their water from rivers, while others source it from lakes or underground resources like the aquifer in Memphis, and this could affect the water quality. Grace Stranch heads the Harpeth Conservancy. She tells This Is Nashville that for this reason, the impact of the wetlands can potentially affect our health and our wallets.
All of these wetlands purify the water so that the utilities don't have to do as much because they have natural filtration. So when you don't have that natural filtration, the utilities might have to spend more money. And you know what that means? You as ratepayers have to pay more money when you don't have these wetlands naturally filtering.
Recent research has shown that wetland plants and microbes can even remove forever chemicals called PFAS from the environment. The Tennessee State Legislature will likely consider a bill this year to weaken protections on some types of wetlands. The bill was introduced last year but was ultimately deferred for more fact-finding. The deadline to file bills this year is February 6th. A new emergency alert tool is ready to enroll residents of Dixon. It's called Code Red and is the latest part of a push by the mayor to improve emergency services. That campaign has included free gun locks and smoke detectors, among other measures. Code Red uses text message, email, or voice calls to alert people to emergencies. It's voluntary and available in Spanish. The system was added as the community has been considering installing tornado sirens. You'll find more news anytime at WPLN.org. Nashville is famously a place where professional songsmiths gather with serious intentions of writing hits. It's not known for casual writing sessions that are open to all comers. But senior music writer Jewly Hight reports that's exactly what's going down in local hip-hop at a songwriting camp that welcomes anyone who wants to get into the studio. This is the first story in Jewly's month-long series on those working to build a business behind Nashville hip-hop.
Ordinarily, a Top Track studio would host one big session at a time. But this particular weekend, every square inch of the place is abuzz with creative chaos. Even in the small isolation booth, utility closet, and hallway, beatmakers lean over their laptops, while vocalists walk around listening for tracks that give them ideas.
It's time to record.
This is Camp 3, a freewheeling, weekend-long music-making meetup. And it's quite the production for one person to put on.
We got Red Bull in the little cooler there, in the fridge, there's water as well.
Independent musician and producer Jack Vanoy, who's welcoming people as they arrive, spent the last 4 months preparing for this. He studied studio engineering at Belmont and learned how the industry works from professors who'd have to rush off from class to record country stars. But it wasn't until he got invited to a casual group hip-hop session that he made the connections he really wanted to make, outside of Nashville's traditional industry.
I didn't know anybody before that, and leaving that day, I had like 10 new close friends that I ended up working with over the course of the next year.
Vinoy wanted to create a setting where others with R&B and hip-hop leanings, but a lack of experience and connections, could find camaraderie like he did. He settled on a thoroughly grassroots version of industry songwriting camps where professionals assemble to generate lots of new material all at once.
The camps that I'm putting together, I want people to see that that's how a lot of the industry is operating, but I want it to feel not as rushed or as urgent. We're just trying to find our way.
He held the first 2 editions in his house in 2022, packing in some 50 people while his roommates were out of town.
I mean, it was loud and amazing.
But beyond cramped. And he wanted to accommodate everyone interested in taking part, even complete newbies. So he started renting out commercial studios and charging a modest fee to cover the cost. At the 7th edition of Camp 3, there are plenty of repeat attendees.
Yeah, I'm based in Nashville. I'm KJ.
He works regularly as a producer and recognizes what's unique about this setting.
Jack insinuates like a great culture around here. He creates an environment where everybody's creative input is valued. I like being a part of something like that.
Holed up in the room next to him is another producer who's taken part in every camp to date, Disc 2.
DISC, and then just the number 2. What really draws me back, it's got to be the community at the end of the day, right? I think it goes back to that intent. I feel safe here.
There are lots of newbies running around too, including a trio of friends who hyped each other up to come to this.
My name is Christine. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee, so this is home for me. And this is my first time coming to anything like this. Really my first time doing anything in the music production space in general. It's just always been like a hobby of mine that I've always wanted to get into.
Hi, my name is Maya. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee as well. Been itching to get into somebody's studio.
Hi, my name is Ariana.
Ariana's done a little bit of recording in the past, but this weekend, she and her crew can really immerse themselves in the experience.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Where do you want me to just run you from the top? Or
yeah.
Okay, cool. Right here, yeah.
Looking at your missed calls, you've been in my phone again. Been some time since you've been gone, we both thought it was the end. First you say you love me, then you don't, I don't deserve it. Why you? Sorry.
That's a good start.
That's a good start. Yeah.
I know, but that's all I wrote.
That's a great start.
I'm coming up with like I don't deserve it was off the top of my head.
Vinoy estimates that the campers, some of whom traveled from Chicago, Atlanta, or as far away as Seattle, made some 40 songs together this time around. At the end, there was a beat battle and a song contest. The track that received the most votes sparked a spontaneous dance party. Its creators won donated audio gear and software. But beyond that modest sponsorship, there's no company backing this and no agenda for the music. That's up to the campers, says Vinoy.
It's cool when people release stuff from the camps, but what I'm most excited about is like that they continue to work with each other.
That way, they won't be alone in their pursuits. For Nashville Public Radio, I'm Jewly Hight.
We do this roundup of Nashville news every weekday. Please consider subscribing on your favorite podcasting app. Thanks to all of you who have left 5-star reviews or a thumbs up in your app of choice. Those little bits of support really do tell the algorithms that more people should be finding us. And of course, everything at WPLN News is listener supported. You can make a donation at WPLN.org. Thanks so much for listening. We'll catch back up tomorrow.